Another building which concerns the topographic path is my ark, my own house, whose history is quite crazy. Everything started from finding a beautiful plot of land on the hillside of Równica mountain, and then I started working on the project. When everything was ready to start the construction, a building permit was obtained and the construction took off. Annoyingly, there were a series of landslips in the region at that time, a phenomenon which had been unknown so far on that scale. My area was not in danger, but I still kept it in mind. Then I asked my constructor, what can I do? He just told me, you can minimize interference in the soil as much as possible, but how to do it when the retaining walls of my first house were in the soil at 22 meters? Then I asked my wife, what would you say if we changed the house a bit? She asked, how much? And I told her, completely. She asked me if I was joking because I had been designing this house for 2 years and then all of a sudden I wanted to change it. How long was I going to do it? I said, listen, 3 days so that the construction crew don't run away. I had to reset myself and remember why we actually bought this plot, for the magnificent view. Okay, so the house has to be framed for the landscape. We should achieve some view from each room, preferably if it was a one-story house. My wife had already wanted a one-story house. She was afraid of the wilderness around. Then I thought, okay, what if I slightly push up this ground floor away from the slope so that the only one face of the house was in a direct contact with the slope? Then the remaining part of the house containing the bedrooms would become an actual first floor. Then you can sleep safely. Another very important step was the sense of security when it comes to possible landslips. Not to violate the land so that the house is in harmony with the nature, I decided that this house would be a sort of bridge. I will support it only on 3 walls, on triangular trusses, under which water can flow smoothly. It was obvious to put there a gable roof because of the mountain climate and local planning law. And the last step, it still missed some technical space. Finally, we had to close the shape in order to stable the firmness of the building. The gabled roof turned out as an accurate mirror reflection of down the foundation walls, giving the impression of an inverted roof. After cutting the end walls, the construction gained quite an interesting appearance and the whole thing started resembling an ark. That's why it is called Konieczny's ark. Let's focus briefly on technology, as it is crucial here. In order to simplify the building and lower the cost, I decided that the construction walls would be the facade at the same time, and I would put insulation inside. Take a look, you can see a shuttered casing of the ark here. When concrete was delivered, the terraces were done at once. When the shuttering was taken off, parts of the casings were finished. You can see the reinforcement which is about to turn into facade. Just a roof is made of wood and second-hand shuttering boards so that nothing is wasted. It is covered with TPO membrane whose color resembles concrete. Here you can see all finished elements such as walls, ceiling and pocket in the floor, which was to be filled with insulation. This led to an interesting idea in accordance with construction physics. The insulation was moved 5 centimeters away from the walls to enable ventilation. Take a look at how it was made. There are small blocks of styrodur attached to the inside of the walls. Styrodur boards are screwed to them, and polyurethane foam is sprayed all over it, which is completely airtight. You can see small holes that remained after shuttering. They are used to ventilate the walls. You can see attached foamed boards which look like a salt cave. It frightened me a bit, but on the other hand, it inspired me to leave one of the boards uncovered and painted to look nice and be cheap at the same time. Let's move to the most important thing now. The house was supposed to be a frame for the view. However, it opens onto the northeastern side fully, and only partly from the south. Why is it so? The right side is a daytime space open onto the surroundings. On the left it was about the sense of security, and this is why there are bedrooms at this safe height. It's the view from the inside of the house. It is just a background for the view. On the left, the glass was moved to the edge of the building to enjoy the skyline of the mountains. From the south, they are pulled back, what creates a roofed terrace and protects from warming up the inside when it's hot. When the weather gets worse, the terrace can be covered with glass panels and we can continue using it. The interiors are very simple and minimalist, local wood and stainless steel, which optically expands these small rooms. It was also applied in the hall connecting the living room with bedrooms, as it is the only place where the sunlight comes in from the west. It works as a periscope. I was wondering if I should install extra shutters from the south in case of a heat wave. My wife asked them as well for a sense of security. I also had to think about an entry because one corner of the ground floor comes in contact with a hillside surface and there is a difference of about 1 meter in height. The idea was to apply a shutter, which is also a drawbridge. It connects the inside with the surroundings and completely changes the house when open. Then the whole surrounding and the inside become one space. When we look at the house at night, we can see light emerging from its bottom. It may seem to be illuminated. The truth is that the light comes from utility rooms because there are cracks where water flows. It is protected with a net which stops snakes from coming in. There I keep wood, household equipment and lawn mowers. To get out of there easily, another drawbridge was applied. By the way, at some point I realized that the house and the garden are a part of the mountain, a part of the hillside. I became aware that the best project of the garden would be no project at all. The best path leading to the house would be just a couple of stones, and the fence would be a temporary electric fence or lack of it. The animals which pasture around cut the grass perfectly. So, abandoning the fence and moving it to the outline of the building resulted in the general accessibility of the plot, but also in an interesting symbiosis between residents and animals. And importantly, I also wanted to have some lighting on the plot, which wouldn't violate its naturalness. That's why the casing of the ark became illuminated. It is a reflector and the whole house is a lamp. The ark's casing saved the lives of rally crew once. Thanks to its shape, nothing bad happened to the participants, and the construction turned out to be very tough, although I hadn't anticipated a collision with a jeep. Another situation sounds unbelievable, but reflects the everyday life of the forest. Animals living on the pasture treat the ark, and to be more precise, the space under its casing as a home. They can find a shelter from the wind and rain, and the edges of the ark are used for scratching. It is amazing. I had never thought of it when the name was invented. The animals added another meaning to the word ark by living here with us in harmony.